Hello, hello. I'm Jacob, smart contract auditor at Multiversx, but also at Arda. Today we discuss about smart contract security. More than $3 billion lost in 2022, so this speaks for the importance of this subject. So we want today to discuss about how to maximize the security of such smart contracts, how to minimize the risks. And for this, we have a quite unique group of speakers that I'm going to introduce now. So first, we have the CEO and president of Runtime Verification, hundreds of smart contracts audited by this company, dozens of protocols formally verified, research and development in automated tools like the K framework, I hope we can touch upon, and now also Zk-Snarks. Please make a warm welcome for Grigore Rosu.
Thank you, thank you.
Next, we have a core team developer, started in the protocol team and later on went on the VM, but now also touching on security on all fronts, really a Swiss knife in Multiversx. We have Corcoveanu, Cristian. And finally, another core developer in the team, smart contract, SC processor, VM, protocol, really on all fronts, available 24/7. It is Robert Sasu. So the first question I have for you guys is really, let's take the skin of the user, and I'm looking at a DeFi project, and basically I want to know whether it's safe or not. What can I do as a user to evaluate the safety of a project? Maybe, Robert, you want to say something?
I am the one to start first. We developers live in an ideal world. We think that everybody can understand what we are building, but they cannot. It's hard for everybody to understand. There are only a small percentage of the people which will actually understand algorithms and everything. So here you need to see a little bit the team and the person behind the DeFi protocol and what kind of processes they did in order to have to build that kind of protocol. As you look around, and at that time when there were like a lot of Android telephone companies and creators, you would have looked around to all those other companies who were testing those kinds of phones, and they would say that thumbs up, it's okay or not. For the average user, I think still that's the way to go, because you have to trust the company, you have to trust the builders who built that system, or you have to trust one developer friend who put money there, or stuff like that. So here comes the processes and the audits. Otherwise, you can somehow evaluate how many other users are using it, but that can be faked somewhat, so I would go with audits and processes.
Thanks a lot. Corco, maybe something?
Yeah. Is this on? I'm not on mute, right? Yeah. Robert started pointing out what I was thinking, but I can go a bit even further. Like, we're technical people here, and it's easy for us to think, okay, you look at a project, does that project have a security audit? Who made that security audit? Does that project have a team that already built other projects that had success and traction? For us, it's a bit easier to do the research. But for example, why should my mom know that Trail of Bits did a protocol security audit while using Xportal, right? So I think it's a bit of a duty for us who are building a project to watch the other teams and build a community where projects that don't have the minimum requirements for security cannot gain any traction at all.
Okay, very interesting insight. You're saying basically it's easy to see that a project is audited, but what does it really mean? Like, is the code that is on mainnet even the one audited? Is the audit actually fixing where the fix is done afterwards? And it's a duty of, I guess, the developers or the auditors to provide information for the users. So for instance, we have reproducible builds on Multiversx. Yesterday, our colleague Ovidiu explained what they are and how they can be used. And actually, on our audit website, we've tried to leverage this to show to the end user, like, is this project, which is live on mainnet, this smart contract, sorry, is it the one that has been audited or not? So it's an example how we can display information. Maybe, Grigore, you have a further insight on this.
Well, I happen to be both an auditor and a user
yeah.
of these protocols. And of course, those audited by Runtime verification have priority for me. I use mostly those. But whenever I use a DeFi protocol, before I use them, I immediately read the review, the audits, whoever did the audits. I know most of the companies, I know how good they are, but that's an advantage I have. But as a user, you should simply go and look at the audits. If they have more audits, better. And read the audits. Okay, not only, some developers, especially anonymous ones, they say audit in progress with, and then some company name. So don't trust those, right? You have to see the audit. Many of them lie. So, but definitely don't use any protocol which is implemented by an anonymous developers or an anonymous team and does not have a clear audit on the website.
Okay, thanks a lot. And I want to touch again on this. When it's written that a project has been audited, it's a label. It doesn't mean that a project has necessarily made all the fixes and so on, so you should take a look at the report, get more insights.
And you can search for auditors and their ranking. So there are known auditors, like you mentioned, Trails of Bits. They are very good. If you see an audit from Trails of Bits, that's a thumbs up. And yes, check the version. Make sure it's the right version they are talking about.
Thanks a lot, guys. And so now let's maybe shift the perspective to the project's developers. Like, I'm new on Multiversx, for instance. I want to build a smart contract. It's going to hold funds. I want to build it the safest way possible. What are the steps I should follow? Maybe, Corco, maybe you want to run through this.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of, I call it specification-driven development. Like, you first need to, especially for smart contracts and especially for smart contracts that handle money, you first need to build the specifications and make sure that those specifications don't change much while implementing. Then, of course, you have test-driven development and audit. We were talking about audit. And also, I'm a big fan of starting the security audits while devising the specifications to catch any, because you can end up in situations where the code is correct. We talked about this, when the code is correct, but the specifications were kind of wrong. The whole story of the contract has maybe some missing parts.
Absolutely, and you would lose a lot of time if you realize later on that your initial specifications were kind of broken. So it's very important to get this right. Grigore, anything?
Yeah, I'd like to emphasize that, actually. There have been a study on aircraft accidents due to bugs in software, okay? And it turned out that more than 90% of the error were requirements, specifications errors, not coding errors. Okay, so many errors, most errors are in specifications. And for developers, I would say don't be scared of auditors, try to work with them. We've seen many immature teams who work hard on their code until 2 weeks before the launch, and then they are desperate to find an auditor to get a stamp of approval for their code before launch. I think that's the worst that you can do as a developer. Don't do that. Okay, let me repeat. Don't wait until 2 weeks or 3 weeks or 1 month even before the launch, and then try to search desperately for an auditor. Okay? Actually, in our various collaborations and partnerships that we had since day zero with Multiversx, their day zero, we were before them. we developed an auditing approach, which we think works best. We call it continuous auditing. Right? So we start working with the team, but now we also build this relationship in time. We start working with them from the very beginning, even before there is any line of code. And we design the system, we discuss, we design the system. They do the design, but we look over their shoulders on the design, and then as they write the code. And when they are done, there is almost nothing to audit because we've seen continuously what's going on. This is the best possible way to work with your auditor, in my view, if you can afford. Also, auditors are expensive, unfortunately. But yeah, so I would say that. And also, keep track of what you do. That will help a lot the auditors later on. For example, we at Runtime Verification don't even take projects if they don't have tests, unit tests. You do not deserve an audit or to launch if you do not have hundreds of tests, okay? Period. We don't even have a discussion with those developers. Then if they have the tests, we look over the tests. And we ask them about how about the coverage of the tests. What did you test? The business model, the code, and usually we derive the tests from the business logic of the protocol. So yes, don't be, if I can put it in one short sentence, don't be afraid of your auditor. Work with your auditor from the beginning, if you can, or as early as possible. And sometimes there are waiting lines of 6 months or more. So the best auditing companies, they don't even advertise, and they are like 9 months in advance filled with requests. So you have absolutely no chance to go at the end and tell them. You have to start looking for an auditor even before you start writing the code, maybe. Ideally, you should already have a relationship built with an auditor.
Very insightful takeaways. So a process where you start a collaboration with the auditor early and in a continuous way, and also the point about testing, I think, is super important. Testing is, you can do it for free. Unit testing can be used at every change in your code, and system testing as well is super important. It can go before the audit, then it can also be done after, so don't miss this part of the process. And maybe, Robert, you want to add something?
Before the auditors, I really much like how we work with runtime verification. We changed this process a few times, and because at one point, I don't know which contract was this, but before 1 week or something, like before the launch, we were doing the audit, but in a super late phase, we figured out that a specification is wrong, and it can be gamed by game theory, which cannot be fixed by fixing a bug. We had to redesign a lot of things. So after that, we started with the specification, and then have a closer collaboration about this, and have constant feedback. What's super important even before auditors is to have good process, meaning specifications which you write in your own language and you push out for your team, and you request at least 2 reviewers. But those reviewers have to stay and check every detail out there, and the same with the code always, because you are working in a critical system. In critical systems, you cannot go wrong, so you need more and more reviews. And so coverage, testing, everything, and a lot of reviews, and reviewers should take their time to do all kinds of reviewers. And I especially, as I lead a few of the smart contracts or products, I'm especially happy to receive a well-written audit with a few problems than to receive nothing. If I receive nothing, I just don't know whether we did a good job or the auditor did not find something. If I receive something from the auditors, then it's like, okay, we did a good job, but still something is missing. So that's for me, personally, I like to receive some kind of, okay, here this, here that. That's it.
So as auditors, we would love to audit specifications, not code. So hopefully one day we'll have tools that connect the specifications with the code, so we only have to audit the business logic, not the coding of it.
Yes, actually, let's talk about tools, because security tools developed by anyone really can help. And sorry. Grigore has to leave, so unfortunately we would stop here with him. But
for the panel.
Thanks, Grigore, for being here. We continue, yes. Okay. It would have been a good question for him, but anyway. So I was about to tell that there are also security tools that can be developed to help developers ensure the security of their smart contract. For example, at Arda, we've built xSuite. It's a way to test your smart contract in JavaScript, which is the most used language in the world. But there are many possible other tools that are already built, maybe, or could be built. Maybe, Corco, you would have other tools in mind that the developers can use or will be able to use at some point.
If you want to build something that would help a lot of other developers, my first thoughts are maybe some static analysis tools or a very good linter for different IDEs. That would, from the security perspective, that would bring a lot of value. Like you won't imagine how many bugs can you catch with a good linter or with a static analysis tool.
Yeah, static analysis tools actually would be a good thing to have as well. Robert?
I would enter in. There are a lot of tools and more tools to be built in order to help all the developers to build. But let's not forget that the system has to be secure as well on the system which you are building. So we are here at Multiversx so we can speak out that how much more secure our system is, and feel free to develop on our systems, as you do not have so many pitfalls as you have on ERC EVM-like systems with all the problems out there. You can't imagine how hard it is to code against reentrancy or have all the overflows or the math that you should code for yourself or introduce a library, and that library might have some problems, as we had lately with the reentrancy lock. It was actually in a language, so you have to choose like a better system on top of which you build. And one fun thing about like open source is that you can use all the open source smart contract, all what others learned, which was audited, to use components out of there and to build into your contracts. So this speeds up the development as well, but it makes your code more secure as well, because that was already audited. Yeah, at the end you need to audit as well again, but it gives you a lot of confidence of using other audited tools or other audited systems. So that's it in these terms.
Yeah, I think you can think about this, about what you said, exactly like unit tests. When you use a library that has good coverage, you don't test the code in that library. The same is with audited contracts. You do audit that it was integrated and the story is correct and the specifications are correct, but yeah, you can gain a lot of extra security from others that did the work.
Absolutely. I think there is also formal verification developed by our missing
guest.
guest.
I was waiting to throw him under the bus with the
that could also be very useful. And one thing you touched upon, Robert, is that it's not the same building maybe on other blockchain that on Multiversx. Basically, these $3 billion that have been hacked or stolen on other blockchains, is it, do you think, going to be the same on Multiversx, or do we have a different destiny because Multiversx is different? And if you can give a bit of details of certain points about it.
Yeah, I'm still working, okay, because I've touched something. Yeah, I think it's safer to build on Multiversx, especially because we eliminated everything which regards to reentrancy attacks. And if you look over the space every week, even after tens of audits, there was a reentrancy attack. like a few months ago, there was a re-entrancy lock issue on Viper, and like all the big DeFi protocols were using that language. So, and everybody, they went through tens of audits, and still it wasn't found. So I think people can't imagine how important it is to have a super great backbone which resolves all these kinds of issues. Like all the internet protocols have evolved from HTTP to HTTPS because we as humans evolved and as we as projects which are there evolved. So the backbone has to be secure. And I like very much what we managed to build with the ESDTs, with not choosing some of the standards existing in the crypto space because they were slightly wrong intuition, and we went into the drawing board and drew the transfer and execute paradigm, built the OIN protocol tokens, which just eliminates tens and tens of problems. Reentrancy is one of those big ones, but if you think about like listing your token on a checks, it's simple. You need an audit for your contract in any other chain because that's how it works. Even if you copy-pasted the ERC20 token standard, you still need an audit. In our case, as everything was audited inside the protocol, you just have to fill out a Google form, which is, let's say, somewhat simpler. But yeah, so when we want to reach the billions, we need to be a secure backbone. And this secure backbone has to come from the most basic layers. That's my 2 cents on this.
Yeah. Going back to the initial question, if I think or we think that Multiversx will have the same destiny, I think no, but that doesn't mean that hacks won't happen. But at the same time, it doesn't mean that they will happen. Like Robert said, we learned a lot from other chains. It's a classic example where the specifications were wrong, and we managed to have an example of wrong specifications and build on top of that, and we fixed a lot of errors. At the same time, we have to think that hacks will happen, and I think it's the same of the same importance as preventing the hack, to have a plan in case the worst happens. Yeah, and everybody should have a plan for that.
Okay.
I would enter a little bit more into how far we want to go with making systems secure, working with runtime verification. Grigore is not here, but we have formal specifications for the ESDT system of the whole protocol, formal specification for the cross-shard model, and lately we have a complete formal specification of the VM, and then we will have for all the whatever you build as a contract. And the idea would be to use tools like Foundry and others, and for your whole system, according to your specs, will be formally verified. Like formally verification, it's like mathematical proofs that your contract is doing what the specification said to do it. So it's super, super at a high level. And I am really, really excited about having all these things built up throughout the years and to have all kinds of tools which are getting out, and for developers to help developers to build secure systems. And yes, we have to look around for all the hacks and be mindful about what we push out there, especially when you are working with DeFi, a lot of liquidity, and with a lot of funds.
Okay, so it seems like Multiversx is like more of a friendly environment to develop smart contracts. I like to think of this like you want to build a house. You can do it on a land which is full of, for instance, sinkholes. It's like shaky ground or, I don't know, ambushes and so on. So if you want to build a robust house, it's possible, but you will need a lot of expertise, caution, preparation. It's possible, but it's hard. And on the other hand, you have a land which is like flat, solid, predictable. In this case, building a robust and steady house will be much easier. And so, I don't know, it seems like it's a bit like the same here. The blockchain, Multiversx blockchain, is like this friendly environment to build kind of safe contracts. One also thing that is different in the Multiversx culture I found is the upgradability of smart contract. Upgradability means that you can push a new version of the smart contract really easily, instantaneously. On the one hand, it's very good because if you see there is a problem in your smart contract, you can push a fix immediately. But on the other hand, if it's upgradable, it means a wrong code can be pushed if there is a mistake or if the owner keys are stolen or compromised. So in the end, is upgradability a good or a bad thing? That's my question. Maybe Corco.
Short answer, it's a good thing.
Okay.
The longer story is that if you think about non-upgradable contracts, like we can think about longer some Ethereum contract, a non-upgradable contract is sort of like legally binding. You know, the consensus assure you that that code will execute forever. But at the same time, if you have a bug, we were talking about bugs, that bug is not actually a bug. It's also legally binding, forever. So we saw in history what can happen. You have a very big platform, like Ethereum was at that time, and we had the DAO hack. At the time of a DAO hack, a single contract, a single application on an entire chain disturbed the social environment so much that they had to fork. So coming back to this, upgradability is a feature, not a bug. Of course, it comes with its own perks. Who is able to upgrade the contract? You need to introduce governance, you need to introduce DAOs, but all of that are different problems unrelated with the initial problem. We brought a fix for the problem, and we have solutions for every perks that fix produces.
Okay.
I pretty much like upgradability because we are in a software world. Software world is the one who is pushing boundaries, and it's continually evolving. So if you don't have upgradability, you are just like killing that kind of advancement, like those fast advancement. But I totally agree with Corco that the people who are doing the upgrades have to be mindful. And with a new upgrade, we are helping developers to make upgrades even easier. No more init function called on upgrade, but an upgrade function called on upgrade, which is like a small detail, but it helps even us. But what kind of tools which have to be used? It's like at least a multi-signature which owns itself, and at least a multi-signature which owns itself, and it owns the underlying contract. So every contract upgrade should go through 2 or 3 signatures, because I presume that most of the teams are at least 2 or 3 people. So that would be like the bare minimum. And when you are going out on exchanges, on DeFi, on everything around there, then you can have a governance contract which can upgrade those codes. So this is where I think we will evolve, and this will make upgradability secure.
Indeed, thanks a lot. Our time is up. Thanks a lot for listening to us, and yes, thank you.